can we find? Uh, oh, here's a nice one. Hey, hello everybody. So green screen is done. Now let's get into it. So why do we need them? Let me see if I can flip the camera and show you. Oh, now it doesn't work. Fantastic. Now I've got to take off the green screen and show you what I'm actually talking about. So this is just a little summary I've been making 28 hours, and it is 19 pages. But basically, long story short, we want to look at why do we need sort of things like this, and what are we actually saying here. You can actually rearrange these to get these type of formats, and the benefit is as follows. Let me go back to the green screen and turn back to the Gabs. All right, so if you imagine that you have a change over time of a population, and yet the population remains stable, what is actually going on there? How do you describe it? And then how do you describe it in the context of how the size or density of the population can affect the growth of the population? So a very simple version would be, imagine if you have foxes and rabbits. Now in undergraduate uni, they'll give you, using differential equations, what's actually going on in that scenario. So if you have too many rabbits, you'll end up getting more foxes. More foxes will eat the rabbits go down in population, and then foxes die out from starvation. But how can you map, for example, let's say a human population that over time, as it grows, the amount of resources relative to the population size becomes so rare, so the relative density decreases to some critical point where the population can no longer grow. And so what you want to do is somehow measure the strength of the population versus the total population. And you can use this type of mathematics to do that. And what's fascinating about it is that you can measure it and convert it. So you can map what's going on here over time into, imagine a photo of a pond that just had a rock thrown into it. And so you get these ripples. And so you can convert using mathematics, the idea of looking at a population model, given X resources and given all of the competing factors in that model, to a snapshot of a ripple in a pond. And that's when you're looking at, it's something called an elliptic equation, which is that, or elliptic differential equation, which means that it's more of a steady state solution. That means that after sort of a time period, then you get to a stable population, even though there's still births and deaths, but the whole thing in a total somehow results in a stable population. So the beauty of actually converting something that can happen across time into a snapshot of a ripple of a pond is that if you look at a ripple of a pond, you can see that there's like a hill. So when you drop the water in, you'll get all of these ripples, right? So you'll get a peak of one ripple and a trough of another ripple, and then it goes up and then there's another peak. So what that means is that you can actually look at certain points where the ripple is neutralized. So you've got sort of a point where water goes up, place where water goes down, but then there's a point where the water doesn't move at all, and you can call that a stable section. So you can actually map that back using mathematics to the environment that you're using in the first place, and then say, well, therefore there's going to be a stable population given the relative density and the people and the resources and everything else. And it's going to exist between roughly these 2 points. Now, the other thing is that you can prove, for example, am I your first comment? Hi. Hi there, welcome. What you can then calculate is how many ripples there are, and then so how many stable solutions or a minimum number of stable solutions that there could be. So then you could say, well, the population would be stable at this point, this point, and this point at least, or within this range, there'll be at least 3 stable points for the population. And it's actually quite amazing, this type of mathematics. It's within differential equations, but it's non-local. And what that means is that it's taking into account not only the change at the point. Got 3 hearts. Thank you so much. I hope you will. And so what it does is it calculates what's going on, not just at the point, but also at the point relative to the whole area at the same time. So for example, let's say you're a YouTuber, let's just say, and you have, an increase of, 10 people a day, let's say for argument's sake. You might think, as we all do, wow, I'm doing something right or wrong, or something that's giving me 10 people a day. What we don't think about is the fact that YouTube is a certain size, which means that the 10 people a day equates to a percentage of the people on YouTube in the first place. So let's just say the population of the earth was 100 trillion, for example, right? Thank you. Um, so then what would happen is that you might not be getting 10 people a day given exactly the same moves that you're performing on YouTube. You might get 1 million a day. But what's happening is that the whole space of YouTube, the characteristics of it are affecting what's happening to you on a local level. So there's a change in how you're behaving, for example, but there's also a change in the space within which you're operating, which affects what's happening to you. And that type of mathematics is beautiful. I think one day, once AI is able to calculate that type of mathematics to a massive degree, we'd be able to predict the future in much more precise ways than what we're doing now. So that's sort of, thank you very much. That's sort of what I am studying at the moment at university. And there's other applications of that type of mathematics. So another application is that there are certain things called electrorheological fluids. And at the moment, they're sort of like you can make liquid turn into a solid just with a zap. And, in theory, down the track, you could get a liquid and it could turn into a cup, for example. Or you could get a car and sort of shrink it into a sphere. Or, I mean, this is obviously not happening today, but that's the type of thing they're working towards. So it's really, really interesting stuff. And that's what I want to share with you today. That's what I'm studying all day. And I'll talk to you next time. Thanks for joining. It was a pleasure.